Top 10 Lovecraftian Anime Explored. H.P. Lovecraft's work has been an immense influence on modern-day pop fiction. It acts as one of those factors that you may or may not correlate a piece of fiction to in terms of face value, but if you trace the influences back far enough, the presence of a Lovecraftian influence is never quite the surprise. His cosmic horror in particular has been a frontrunner in influencing works that revolve around a fear of the unknown. Battle shonen anime tend to garner the most popularity, and although they can be quite horrific, we often know who our enemy is, and so do the characters. But it only takes a slightly deeper dive into the realm of Japanese animation that we find work where it is hard to know who our enemy is, or if there is an enemy at all. The lines between the slides get blurred and we enter an ambiguous territory where neither us nor the characters know what is being dealt with. In today's video, we are going to list down 10 such Lovecraftian anime that revel in their obscure horror. Before diving into the content, we would like to make a very small request to our viewers. Please subscribe to Marvelous Videos, like and comment on our videos, and press the bell icon to be notified whenever we upload a video. We would be grateful to you, and we hope to bring you the best nerdy content. So, without further ado, let's get right into the video. Number 1. Made in Abyss. Anytime the word abyss is mentioned, there is a sense of mystery that it is shrouded by, and the same can be said for the anime Made in Abyss, which has been adapted from Akihito Tsukushi's adventure manga. The story revolves around a girl named Riko who is an orphan, at least that's what we know. She finds a new friend in a humanoid robot boy named Reg, and together they dive deep into the abyss, hoping to not only explore it, but also to find Riko's mother. This abyss is more of a complicated cave system that, in the world of Made in Abyss, finds itself as the only unexplored place on the planet. In true Lovecraftian fashion, the abyss seems to be a habitat for mysterious creatures, lost civilizations, and ancient relics that are yet to be discovered. No one knows where the pit of the abyss ends or what relics await them in their journey. Needless to say, adventurers have often been attracted to exploring this abyss, making them the cave raiders. However, the abyss is not devoid of a dangerous curse that manifests once a raider descends. The curse turns each level of the mist-filled abyss into something far more horrifying than the previous level, making it increasingly difficult for those who have reached the lower regions to return. However, such a feat was not impossible as a whole, and successful cave raiders who journeyed to the depths and came back went on to be known as the White Whistles. Riko's mother, Lisa, was one such white whistler, but her last descent did not end well as she never returned. Meanwhile, Riko wished to realize the same dream as her mother's, as she wanted to venture into the depths of the abyss, becoming a white whistle in her own right. Somewhere down the line, she befriended a humanoid robot boy named Reg, whom she met in the first layer of the abyss, and eventually went on to find discoveries and observations left behind by Lisa. However, the cherry on top was a message that she had left for her daughter, prompting Riko to go looking for her mother with Reg by her side. The unknowable aside, the anime gets more Lovecraftian as we get to witness its visceral, tentacled creatures with the gelatinous goop mirroring the exact wriggling body horror that H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythology is renowned for. Although action horror movies across the globe have sported such creatures as the big bad monster villain of the movie, Made in Abyss shows you just how much you could do with a simple Lovecraftian premise and how horrific things can truly get. Number 2. The Promised Neverland. This show combines dark fantasy with science fiction and thriller as Kaiju Shirai opens to us a dystopian world in 2045 that has been overrun by what seems to be demons. To protect the world from such evil, sentient creatures who feed on humans and the people had to be separated from one another, bringing a truce amidst their war. With this truce being known as the Promise, the humans and the creatures separated their worlds. As such, humans thrived away from the threat of demons. However, without eating humans who were intelligent, the demons would lose their sentience and turn into mindless monsters, making it an absolute necessity for them to be fed. As such, human breeding farms were set up in the land of the demons, keeping them satisfied with a constant supply of food. These farms presented themselves as orphanages, in this case, Grace Fieldhouse, where a human mother named Isabella would overlook the events in the hopes of the humans turning out as intelligent as possible. But here's where it gets convoluted. The kids in the orphanage did not know that they were being raised like lambs for slaughter. They genuinely believed that they were in an orphanage while being oblivious to everything about the outside world. The kids also had numbers tattooed on them, making it easy to identify each and every one. While they believed that they would eventually be adopted and go on to live their lives, the mother only oversaw whether they grew up well or not, as they had to be fed to the higher-ranking demons. With the obscurity of the truth that the kids in the orphanage experienced, The Promised Neverland acquired its Lovecraftian flavor. The story follows the 11-year-old orphan Emma, who is very satisfied in her life as she wakes up on a warm, plush bed, eats gourmet food every day, stays with her 37 siblings, and gets ample love from her so-called mother, Isabella. The only condition she and the other orphans have to follow Taro is that they cannot leave the compound. After one of the orphans gets adopted, Emma realizes that he has left his toy and rushes to give it to him. However, she finds him dead and goes on to learn the truth about the world. With the ceiling crashing in on them, the kids are left with no choice but to escape. However, they soon find themselves in the lap of another Lovecraftian horror, as inhuman creatures that look like they are straight out of the Cthulhu mythos stand against them in their freedom. Number 3. Berserk. Lovecraftian horror is not a structured concept. Ambiguity, obscurity, and tentacled creatures are not the only factors that make something horrific Lovecraftian in nature. Helplessness plays a huge role in delivering the essence of cosmic horror, and nothing really conveys helplessness as well as Kentaro Miura's Berserk. The story is infamous for having a main character who seems to have the worst life imaginable. Although it is quite common for anime characters to have absolutely terrible lives, Kentaro Miura dials the misery by several notches for his protagonist Guts, who is a lonely mercenary warrior. The beginning of his journey is not as bad, with Guts finding a friend in Griffith, an ambitious person who wishes to rule a kingdom. As the two meet one another, Griffith defeats Guts in a battle, prompting the latter to join Griffith's group, known as Band of the Hawk. Their friendship flourishes, and Guts becomes a key member of his friend's group until one day he overhears Griffith mentioning how someone who does not have a dream of his own can never be a true friend. The revelation causes Guts to leave the Band of the Hawk, hoping to go his own way instead of dedicating himself to someone else's dream. However, the separation of the two friends results in something unimaginable, as Griffith gradually turns insane. So much so that the Band of the Hawk becomes outlaws and Griffith almost commits suicide. Until one day when a certain discovery leads to Griffith triggering an event called the Eclipse, which brings us to the thing that makes this story so very Lovecraftian. As Griffith's thirst for power takes over, the Band of the Hawks and Guts experience nothing but sheer hopelessness as they are destroyed. And when the sun sets, Griffith rises again with power beyond anything Guts had ever seen, as the former becomes the fifth God Hand member. The events that follow are what separates Guts from the average anime protagonist, who seems to possess a certain amount of plot armor and privilege to always aid them. As Griffith makes Guts experience some of the most inhumane things, Guts finds himself in a position where his strength is never enough. Even if he attains victory over cosmic abominations, he is always subdued by something far above him. With power he cannot fathom, despite being stronger than every other human. Due to his awful experiences, he seeks revenge on Griffith, whose power is beyond Guts' reach. And Guts is left with no choice but to trade his humanity for more power, which inadvertently corrupts him just like anyone else, and it all began in the face of helplessness and hopelessness. To truly enjoy Berserk, it would be best for you to read the manga, as the anime is kinda infamous for not being the best adaptation. Number 4. Parasite. Hitoshi Iwaki's Parasite presents itself as an ambiguous lesson on morality, as protagonist Shinichi Izumi falls victim to a strange alien that is far different from anything, with a stereotypical large eyes on a teardrop-shaped face and a gigantic brain. Let's take Spider-Man's Venom as a reference to understand this better. Venom is an alien from a different planet that binds itself to the host, acting as a parasite, and gives the host power far beyond its own. On the flip side, the symbiote also corrupts the mind of its host, which is something we have seen both Peter Parker and Eddie Brock experience. While Shinichi's story starts off with him living a quiet life with his family in Hiroshima, Japan, it takes a turn when tiny, worm-like aliens with drills for heads reign on Earth. They burrow into the brain after entering the human bodies via their ears and noses while they sleep and take over the people. They then assimilate inside the host, taking over their minds and bodies. It also allows the human host to shape, split, and harden its body in horrific ways to show off their power and assert dominance. As the parasitic alien tries to enter Shinichi's body through his nose, he wakes up from his sleep, disrupting the process. So the alien burrows into his arm with its drill-like head. This, however, prevents the alien from taking over Shinichi's brain, and as a result, both Shinichi and the alien retain their separate personalities within the same body. The alien manifests in his right arm and is named Migi by Shinichi, which in Japanese translates to right. Since Migi is unable to take over Shinichi, they begin to emotionally bond with one another and try to survive as the odd ones out in the strange world. Their coexistence and collaboration also give them an edge in their battle against the parasites who devour their hosts for food. Ironically, Shinichi fights against Migi's kind with the help from Migi. The very being that threatens Shinichi's existence is the very being who helps him in his fights. We have seen something similar in stories like that of Tokyo Ghoul, where Ken Kaneki partially becomes a ghoul and navigates a morally gray world of humans and ghouls where neither side is right nor wrong. The humans cannot help but hate the ghouls for killing them and eating them, but the ghouls cannot eat anything that is not human, and they need to sustain their lives. It is slightly different in Parasite, however, as Shinichi fights off the machinations being carried out by the aliens, but these creatures do not understand morality the way humans do. Our carnivorous animal can kill a human for food, but that does not make them evil. Such a situation once again shrouds the essence of Parasite with ambiguity in terms of morality, more so than Tokyo Ghoul, where the ghouls have moral and emotional compasses. What makes this story so Lovecraftian is its psychological edge as Shinichi ponders over the basis of morality, the thing that causes us to perceive one thing as good and the other as evil. Even without the involvement of parasites, morality is subjective, as the definition of good may vary from person to person. One person can identify diplomacy as a good trait and straightforwardness as tactless and evil. On the other hand, another person can perceive diplomacy as the lack of a spine and aggression, or straightforwardness as more righteous depending on the situation. As the story progresses, the lines between moral and immoral get smeared in the face of a situation that is beyond human comprehension. Number 5. Junji Ito Collection, Junji Ito Maniac. Junji Ito is one of the most renowned writers in the world of horror. With his art that is nothing short of unimaginably creepy and stories where things make little sense with respect to what is possible, Junji Ito builds a world devoid of its rigid structures. Imagine the world of Spirited Away, but a lot less cute and a lot more grotesque. His works are often Lovecraftian in the sense that a lot does not make sense, while the obscurity adds to the harrowing nature of his stories. Meanwhile, his art style does not stray away from Lovecraftian ideals, either with its immense display of body horror, albeit not in its tentacled form. The mangas aside, we get to witness his Lovecraftian work come to life in the anthology anime series Junji Ito Collection. Junji Ito Maniac, Japanese Tales of the Macabre. Some of the stories can be silly, while others can act as an obstacle between the viewer and a good night's sleep. The two series have also brought to us episodes with recurring characters such as the extremely creepy Suichi and the beautiful but nerve-wracking Tomi and her infamous head split. We never get to know how someone's body is only formed with layers of the epidermis, or how hanging balloons of people's faces can infest a city and force people to commit suicide against their will, but when we see it, we revel in its horror. Number 6. Paprika. Albeit not as popular as Hayao Miyazaki, Satoshi Kon is one of the most renowned animators and film directors in the world of anime. He has given us masterpieces such as Tokyo Godfathers, Millennium Actress, Perfect Blue, and of course the absolute madness that is Paprika. But Paprika doesn't make much sense, and it is not supposed to, as it blends the world of dreams with reality, and often our dreams tend to make no sense either. So why would this be any different? The story takes place in the near future, where a device named DC Mini allows one to peek into the dreams of others. Things begin to get complicated when the head of the creating team, Dr. Atsuko Chiba, uses this machine to illegally help psychiatric patients as she peers into their dreams under the guise of her alter ego, Paprika. She finds her patient and Detective Toshimi Konakawa, who seems to have absurd dreams about a detective case that he just cannot seem to solve. But the device gets stolen, and due to it being a prototype, the DC Minis continue to lack access restrictions, making it dangerous in the wrong hands. What starts off as a simple theft escalates to something far beyond it, as the world of dreams begin to consume reality in a way, and at the apex of it all sits Dr. Chiba, or Paprika, who continues to peer into dreams to crack the mystery. It differs from the vague structures of Junji Ito's works in the sense that no one questions the machinations in Ito's stories. The same cannot be said for Paprika, where the regular world begins to fall to the world of dreams and drags its characters with it. The story ties itself to Lovecraftian themes with the dream sequences, making Dr. Chiba mirror Randolph Carter, who explored the depths of Kadath in his dreams. Number 7. Neon Genesis Evangelion. If you think Paprika is weird enough, brace yourself for Neon Genesis Evangelion, where everything makes sense at first and halfway down the line it just doesn't. In fact, the show kind of changes genres midway. It starts off as a potential meta-action anime before becoming something so much more psychological in nature. Protagonist Shinji Ikari is not one of the most loved main characters because of his whiny and annoying nature. The story is set 15 years following a cataclysmic event known as the Second Impact, which resulted in a genocide and the alteration of the Earth's axis, thanks to the intervention of what is called the first ancestral race, or the Angels. However, the race of the Angels, which seems to be huge mechanical robots, reappear in the futuristic Tokyo 3, prompting Mitsato Katsuragi to recruit Shinji Ikari to pilot a huge robot known as the Eva. The show also follows biblical themes, with biblical characters being involved in the creation of the Evas, while the Angels gear up for the Third Impact. Each Eva gets a teenager with a worse mental state as their pilot, with Shinji suffering from severe depression, while Asuka comes off as the poster child for mommy issues. Due to their mental states, the truth behind the Evas, and its true nature, things begin to get more and more convoluted as neither Shinji nor the viewers can understand what is going on, at least until the very end, making the show Lovecraftian in essence. Humanity is proven to be insignificant when the minds of the characters break down as they pilot the organic mechas, and no one suffers from its consequences more than Shinji himself, who finds himself as the bearer of a huge responsibility he never asked for. Number 8. Angel's Egg. This science fantasy Japanese art film dives into the meaningless of existence. Everything within the framework of the story is murky, so much so that we do not even know the name of the protagonist. This unnamed girl lives in a random building in a desolate city, but there is one thing that is very close to her heart: an egg. She protects the egg as she scavenges for food and water. However, she hides the egg underneath her dress as she had been asked to keep things precious to her inside her in order to not lose them. The story goes on to portray coelacanth-like fish that swim across the neo-Gothic streets. We also witness a leviathan, making the film as Lovecraftian as it gets, as we recall the people from Innsmouth. What makes it even more ambiguous is the creator, Mamoru Oshii's opinions on it. While many people believe that Oshii created the film after losing his faith in Christianity, he himself clarified how he was not a Christian. Instead, he explained how he himself did not know what the film was about. What makes Angel's Egg more unnerving is its jarring visuals across the unpredictable landscape, unnatural architecture, and strange premise. Lovecraftian work is no stranger to putting its protagonists in unfathomable situations, and that is exactly what Angel's Egg does. Number 9. Blood-Sea. Action, horror fantasy, and thriller meet one another in Blood-Sea, which is a series that follows Saya Kisaragi. Although she comes off as a regular teenager, in reality she is a skilled swordsman trained to defeat monsters known as the Elder Barons. It is set in a rural town where Saya acts as the shrine maiden of her father's Shinto shrine. The town is not devoid of its problems, as it is often attacked by monsters known as Elder Barons who possess objects and hunt down humans to drink their blood. Having been trained by her father in the art of swordsmanship, Saya fights off the monsters with her father to defend the village. However, she goes on to suffer blanks in her memories and headaches without reason whenever she tries to recall certain incidents after she gets accused by one of the monsters for violating the Shrovetide. Gradually, her battles get more desperate and the people close to her begin to turn into the victims of the Elder Barons. She eventually unearths truths about herself and the rest of the people as more and more disturbing facts are revealed. What makes this story Lovecraftian is once again the unknown. Although we know about the Elder Barons, the protagonist struggles with her lack of knowledge when it comes to the disturbing truths about herself, making the story deeper than a regular human versus monster scenario. Number 10. Devilman Crybaby. We end today's list with this absolute madness of an anime called Devilman Crybaby, which goes on to show how insignificant humans truly are. There's an age-old phrase that talks about how having partial knowledge can be dangerous, and the characters of Devilman Crybaby suffer from just that, as the baton of being the antagonist is passed down from the devils to the humans in the course of the anime. The show starts off with Akira Fudo being a crybaby and a horrible runner in his school, unlike his longtime crush and housemate Miki Makimura. However, after he tries to save Mickey from a gang, he himself becomes their victim, only to be saved by his old friend Ryo Asuka. Later, Akira and Ryo go to a place where the events are nothing short of sinful, making it the perfect place for evil to breed with respect to Christian ideals. And so it does, as demons appear in the underground nightclub and massacre the humans. Akira falls victim to a demon named Amon, but as Akira's will is stronger, he becomes the host of the demon, which makes him increasingly more powerful than before. He even becomes the fastest runner in his school, although he still continues to be a crybaby as he retains his human soul despite having the body of a demon. Gradually, more and more people turn into the host bodies of demons, while Akira finds himself in intense battles and experiences satanic desires. As the story progresses, humans learn the truth about the demons and turn against anyone and everyone. Think about a witch hunt. Although witches have historically been portrayed as evil, innocent women being burnt in pyres by normal people over assumptions is nothing short of evil either. Devilman Crybaby experiences something similar as the events begin to unfold. Meanwhile, the viewers and Akira himself learn more about Ryo, while the show goes on to have a terrifying ending, which only shows us how insignificant everything is in the face of a greater power. Marvelous verdict. The themes and the stories from this list often contradict one another. While some find ambiguity in a greater power, others find ambiguity in the world when contrasted against this greater power. Some of the worlds make little sense, while others make so much sense that the humans within them begin to make less sense. Dreams pour into reality, and humans struggle with morality they would have struggled with even if parasitic aliens did not take over. As such, we can conclude that Lovecraftian cosmic horror does not have to make sense, because its inability to make sense is what makes it so horrifying. With that, today's video comes to an end. What did you think of these 10 anime? Did you enjoy this video? If yes, then don't forget to like and comment on this video. Till then, goodbye and have a nice one.